What's happening, everybody? Thanks so much for stopping by for yet another video. And Cubase 10.5 just dropped. So as some of you might remember, a while ago I did a poll here on YouTube asking you guys which DAW you're using. And to my pleasant surprise, I found out that most of you are Cubase users, which is a great thing because I also use Cubase. I've been using Cubase since I kind of remember myself. I did my first music in Cubase, and even though I've tried pretty much every other DAW out there because I've been working in professional studios all my life, so you have to pretty much know everything, I feel that Cubase is the most complete DAW. So Cubase 10.5 is out. I'm really excited about it. So today I'm going to take you through every new feature that Cubase 10.5 has to offer. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is, of course, the brand new video export. And of course, this is a very simple thing, but it's done right. So I'm going to show you how it works. Basically, you can export video straight from Cubase with the audio, with your music, with the sound effects, everything that you've done. So in the past, you had to basically have the video file somewhere on your hard drive and then replace that audio file with the export of the sound that you've done in Cubase. But basically, it wasn't possible to export a video file straight off Cubase. So that's number one, you can now do this. And number two, you can also export a specific portion of the file. So for example, if I have this video file right here, so this is the promo of one of my singles that was released a few years ago. And basically what I can do is I can say, well, I want to select this portion of the video, press P, and now I can export just that portion of the video with the music, with everything, just going File, Export Video, and now I can name the video, of course, and I can even embed the timecode, which is a neat little feature. I think this is really cool, especially when you're working with directors or with clients, or if you're doing promo videos, you're doing music for promo videos. Now, the second cool feature is that you can now combine the selection tools, and this is something that I'm using pretty much every day of my life, right? Especially when I'm doing mixing, I'm editing vocals, I'm editing multi-tracks, I'm using all these things. So, the most common tools that you use is the selection tool where you can move things around. But the most interesting tool in Cubase, if you ask me, it's the range selection tool, which is this one right here. But now you can click this button right here, and now you can basically combine both the range selection tools and the object selection tools in one go. So the way it works is basically if you go towards the lower side of the event, you get the object selection tool, so you can just move it across like that. But if you go to the top, you get the range selection tool, so you get the best of both worlds. So let me show you how it works. Let's say I want to grab this portion, cut it, Shift X if you don't know the shortcut, and then I can go immediately and change the gain level. I can change the fade in and the fade out. It's very, very simple. Actually, this is one of my favorite little things. It will speed up my workflow a lot because I use these things every single day. And if you're doing editing, this is an amazing thing. Now, another very cool thing is that now you can colorize your channels in the mixer, and not just the very bottom, this portion right here, basically. You can colorize the entire channel strip. So if you open the strip, you can actually see it has a very nice layout actually right now, and you can see all the channels very clearly. So for example, in my case, I like to color code my channels. So for example, if my vocals are red, then I know just by looking at the mixer that these are the channels for vocals, and maybe my guitars are, like teal or something like this. Again, I can do this very, very easily. At a glance, I can go to my mixing console and check out what everything is without scrolling up and down trying to figure out the names of the channels. So that's a very, very cool thing. If you want to activate this, you can just go Preferences, and then it's right here. See, Mix Console Channels. You have to just click on that. So see, without it, it just looks gray. If you click on that, you can click Apply, and then you colorize your channels. And of course, you can change the color strength, and you can select the brightness and all these things. This is really, really cool. So very neat feature, actually. I really enjoy this. Now the next feature is the retrospective record, and if you don't know this feature, this has been in Cubase for a while. Basically, it saves your day sometimes. So imagine you're just messing up with an instrument, you're playing some drums, stuff like this, and then at some point you get a really nice groove, and you're like, oh man, I wish I had recorded that. That's one of the things that you get a lot. So Cubase can do this thing where you press retrospective record, and basically whatever you played, it just brings back the MIDI notes, the MIDI information inside your project. So this has been in Cubase for a while, but now it's actually more advanced and it adds more features. So let me show you. For example, let's say I have this Groove Agent instrument right here, and I start to mess around. Check this out. Say you have now a brand new retrospective recording entry on your inspector. So now, once you start playing, check what happens. Now it's gray, but when I play, it lights up. So now what you can do is you can say, okay, I want to insert this as linear recording. And boom, see, whatever I played is right there. Everything I just played, exactly the notes that I played are right there. Now, what's the improvement here? Basically, the improvement is that every channel, every MIDI instrument can have its own buffer. So let's say you have a multiple instruments arrangement, you go to your bass, you play some bass, then you can have a buffer for the bass, or you might want to have a buffer for the drums, maybe a buffer for your guitars, for your strings, for all these things. So each one of the channels has its own buffer. That's a very cool thing. But there's another very, very cool addition to this. So let's say you are in cycle mode. And if I activate cycle, now there's another option that allows you to insert those, whatever you played as a cycle recording. And that's extremely useful. I feel this is going to be extremely useful for people that want to play solos, for people that are trying out ideas and they're trying to create loops. Because what you can do, let me empty the buffer now. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, let's say I want to create a groove for a song. So I can start Cubase. It's just playing, I'm not recording. Okay, and I can start playing something on top of this. So as you can see, I played several patterns right there. Nothing was recorded, but Cubase was listening the whole time. So what I can do now is I can go here and say insert as cycle recording and check what happens. That's the cool bit. Now all these patterns that I played are right there, and they're there as different parts. So see, I can just move from one to the other like this. So this is the first one, which was completely empty. Now, or maybe this one. And this is very cool because usually what happens if you start cycle recording with MIDI is, of course, you're just overdubbing all the time. That's the default behavior. But with this one, you can be just, okay, I'm jamming along this 4-beat bar, and I create some loops, and then I can, if I find that I played some cool ones, I can just go and retrieve them. So this is a very cool feature. So that's the retrospective record. It's really cool, and I think, it's one of those things that, when you miss something and you think you played a cool thing, it's always good to know that you can go back to Cubase and bring everything together. Now, the next new feature is really incredible. Whatever you're doing, if you're producing, if you're mixing, this is a life changer. So let me show you what it is. Now, Cubase can display the spectral curve of 2 channels at once, and it can overlay them. For example, the most typical scenario is a kick drum and bass, right? So let me play this example for you. So let's move to the kick drum first, and I want to make sure that these two instruments don't clash with each other. So what I can do is I can go to my kick here, and then I can have this as a reference channel, and I can use this as a comparison channel. So for my comparison channel, maybe I want to go to my Retrolog bass. So let me show you what happens now. So now I can see not only the spectral curve of the kick drum, but also I can see the bass, which is really useful. Now, and as you can see, it holds these curves right here. So I can tell if these two instruments are clashing, either fighting for the same frequencies. In this case, without even having to think about it, I can see that, okay, my kick drum is there, that's the fundamental, so maybe I want to boost it a little bit, and then, look, I can go straight to the bass without even going to the mixer. I can toggle between these channels like this, and I can say, okay, let's play. Okay, let's get rid of some of these frequencies on the bass so that it doesn't clash with my kick drum. And then maybe I go back to my kick drum and see. And maybe my bass has a fundamental right here, so maybe I can just get rid of the 90 Hz like there. And I can add some boost right there on my bass. So that's a very, very cool way. This can work with vocals when they clash with your guitars. It can work with vocals and synths. Sometimes, you know, you need your vocals to cut through. Maybe you have to carve your synths a little bit, or maybe your guitars. You know, drums, bass, pianos, all these things. This is an incredibly cool feature that will speed up your workflow a lot, especially if you are, you know, mixing really complex tracks and you want to get the cleanest mix possible. So this is a life changer. I love this feature. Now, before we move on to the really interesting stuff, I want to show you something that's incredibly useful, and that's the import tracks from project. So this is the function that was there with the previous version as well, but now what you can do is you can import even more track types. So you can import group tracks, you can import effects channels, you can import folders, you can import VCA channels. It's really powerful now. Sometimes you have entire channel structures. You might have one sound that consists of like 8 or 10 sounds together, and with this one you can basically recall your sounds very quickly. So the way it works is you go import tracks from project, and then you can open a project like this, and then immediately you find all the channels right there. So if I want to import this entire folder track, I can do this that easily, and I can import it with the events and parts or not, and I can import the channel and inspector settings and even the automation. That's pretty cool. So once I click OK, it basically imports everything for me like that. Everything is there, even the VCA faders. Now the next thing is Padshop 2, and I'm really excited about this. I mean, as a sound design freak myself, this instrument, I'm telling you guys, this instrument is amazing. You know, with all my heart, I think this is a super powerful instrument. So this is Padshop 2. Now, there are quite a few new things. I won't go into detail because that's a video on its own, but basically we have a brand new synth engine, the Spectral Oscillator. You can import samples now, so you don't have to have the Pro version. Now it works straight away, and it just sounds incredible. Just to give you an idea, I'm going to just drag a sample in it, and you can see what I can do with it in just a few moments, okay? So this is like a piano, like the most boring sample in the world. I'll just drop it in, and now obviously I have the granular side of Padshop like this. So immediately in 1 second you can get a brand new sound out of a boring sample. Maybe randomize this. You know, change the speed. And that's pretty cool. But that was there in the previous version of Padshop. But now we have something called the Spectral Oscillator, and that's pretty cool. Because this, you can basically stretch a sample and play it back at any speed. Let me show you. So when you first load a sample in it, it sounds almost like a sampler, a little bit more advanced because you can go. And then if you go higher, if you have a sample that goes, you want to go higher, you can just use the low cut, and this cleans up the sound quite a bit. And you can go really low. Let me show you. Okay, so it sounds incredible to begin with, but then you can change the speed and check it out. You can even freeze the sample. Check out. This is incredible. I mean, now the other thing you can do, the most interesting controls in my opinion is purity. This really, this can make the sound really aggressive, or it can make it really nice and cool, like smooth. And of course the inharmonicity increases in harmonicity, or it makes the sound cleaner. Again, very cool. Gives you a different texture. If you have it like completely, low, then the sound becomes really more synthetic. And then you can change the format as well. So, just drag and drop it with the mode wheel, and then you have a very interesting sound, again, out of a very probably boring sample. I'm going to add maybe like a nice reverb there. Anyway, this is just a very quick taste when it comes to Padshop. Like, this is an incredible instrument. Just drop any sample you want, percussive, just make noises, grab a microphone, record something. You're gonna come up with something really special. And now we get to probably the most fun thing, in my opinion, in Cubase 10.5, and that's the brand new Multitap Delay. I love this thing. Literally, guys, this delay is incredible. You can use it subtly, you can use it for vocals, you can use it for synths. You can get all these kind of tape delay sounds. It has ducking. You can get these, digital delay sounds like the 2290, all these things. You can get all these sounds through this delay, but it's also a sound design tool. You can get completely crazy with this delay. So I have my guitar here because I think it's good to show you this on a guitar. So let me show you how it sounds straight out of the box. So I'm going to have Cubase give me some tempo, and now I'm going to tap in my delays. So let's try that. And now I can quantize my delays as well. So let's try that. Now, immediately I can go and say I want to pan those guys, so I can get a little bit of nice specialization. Let's see. 2, 3, 4. I can change the feedback, of course, and then I can go here and change the character of the delay. Maybe I want to add some saturation, and maybe I want to add a little bit of modulation, and I can change the sample rate, so I can make it a little bit dirtier. Let's change the specialization there. Now, the cool thing with this is that now I can go and say I want to add something to my delay on top of the delay line. So maybe I want to go and add, let's say, a reverb, and check what happens now. So I can change the time of the reverb. Really, really cool, right? Now I can say I might want to add like a phaser on top of my delay. And the thing that I like the most is that I can go here, and for every tap, I can add a different effect. That's right. So basically I can go to tap 1, for example, and say, okay, for this one, maybe I want to have like a long, really long reverb that only affects this tap, right? It doesn't affect these guys. It only affects the first tap, right? So this one. And maybe I want to change the time, make it really long, change the size. So let's see how this sounds. Maybe I want to drown it in reverb. And then maybe for the second tap, I want to have like a nice chorus there. Maybe not for the first one, but for everything else, maybe. Let's try and mix it a little bit more. So, you know, you can get really crazy. Let's go and add the reverb on all of this, and then maybe I can also go and add a flanger to this. Let's go crazy with the feedback. Now, if you feel that the delay gets out of hand at any point, you can just go here and, you know, stop it. But the other cool thing is that you can even say that I want to suppress feedback when ducking. So you can basically add the ducker, and now you get that kind of effect. Now, let's try this one. This is called Dreamscape. Beautiful. So there you go, guys. This is what's new in Cubase 10.5. I really felt that I owed this video to you because I've been using this program pretty much every day of my life for the past 15 years. It's more than 15. It's actually more than 20. Damn. Okay, thanks so much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button and share this video with whoever you think they will find it useful. Until next time, have a great time.